Welcome back, one and all, to another day here at the Damage Report. That day is Monday, and Mondays here, by tradition, by law, are fantastic. Francesca, welcome back to the show. How you doing?
I'm okay.
Okay, your voice, not necessarily fantastic, but we're gonna get there together.
Another week in America.
Another week in America. Everyone, what do you think that means?
You know, and America is 3 Ks at this point. And I always say this, but back when I was becoming politicized and people would spell America with 3 Ks, I'd be like, okay, slow down, all right? It's not like there are Nazis out there. Now there are. Now I'm like, oh no, America is America, 3 Ks.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and by the way, when we say, it's America being America, it means one of several things. I mean, the most likely thing is the thing that it is this week. And we're gonna be talking about the shooting in Texas in just a little bit. But to be fair, it could reference a horrid act of police brutality. I think that would fit. Massive tax cuts for billionaires, a little bit rare, but it could definitely be that. Or maybe an entire community of people having their rights taken away, particularly reproductive rights or the right to vote. So there are a number of things. Don't jump to conclusions, everyone, about the particular way that our country has failed this week. It's failed in multiple ways. Get you a country that can do both.
It's a breakfast buffet of anti-democratic news.
100%. As a failed state, it contains multitudes.
Yeah.
In any event, we are going to be talking about what happened outside of Dallas in some detail, as well as some of the issues with our democracy, including the rapidly developing situation in Georgia, the investigation into Donald Trump, and his effort to just take the win there, I suppose. Along the way, we're also going to be talking about Ron Desantis. He's got some issues too. We're gonna be diving into Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month with a devastating poll. And then in the aftermath, we get a chance to talk about babies. I'm just right now just looking for opportunities for me and Francesca to be able to talk about babies. And I think we've come up with a good excuse that is sort of political, arguably.
Yeah, don't get mad at us, the anti-babites out there. You know who you are.
And it's coming. The conversation is coming.
Oh yeah.
With that said, we do have a lot to talk about. And so you're gonna wanna get your liking the video out of the way early. You know what, you do that and then you can just settle in and absorb the fun and the non-fun alike. And along the way, if you wanna send us any comments, tweets, super chats and all that, Francesca and I will respond as we go. You might even get yourself a $100 Blue Apron gift card, and how nice would that be? Also, on Mondays, we release top 10 lists, special content for our YouTube tier 2 and tier 3 members. This week, we're gonna be talking about several weeks out from the end of Succession as we know it, 10 things we'd like to happen in the episodes that remain. So it's gonna be a fun one. And with that said, Francesca, are you ready to start this thing off?
Yes.
And I'm sort of slow rolling it because, oh dear God, not again.
Yeah.
But let's do it. Let's talk about it. 2 days out from another devastating shooting, this time in Texas, in a suburb outside of Dallas, we are learning more. We're learning more about the alleged shooter, including links to white supremacist beliefs and content online. We're also learning more about what this means for mass shootings in America. Did you know that this mass shooting occurred less than 10 days since the last one, specifically in Texas? Both of them in one state, both of them individuals who got their hands on military grade firearms and then turned them on American citizens. Oh, also, by the way, it's the 199th mass shooting of just this year. It's May, and it's the 199th mass shooting. I would make a joke about, we're all on the edge of our seat to find out who's gonna be plagued with the 200th, but the shooting was 2 days ago, and so we've already had that 200th mass shooting. Let's keep it real. It might not be national news yet, but it happened somewhere. It destroyed a family or maybe a few. It destroyed a community, and it will soon be forgotten if it's ever mentioned on the national stage by the 201st, which will come probably later on today. That's America, everyone buckle up. That said, Mauricio Garcia is the name that has been pinned to the suspect. He was one of 7 people who died at the scene. 2 others died at the hospital. So 8 victims of the shooting. A witness, by the way, described finding a young boy alive under the corpse of his mother who died protecting him. I was pointing out last week during another one of these shootings that is now, like, forget the bald eagle as like sort of an image, a symbol for America. No, the symbol that best represents America is a woman shielding a child's body with hers, because she has to use all that she has, literally the flesh of her body, to stand in for the massive cowardice and weakness and corruption of all of the political officials that should have stopped that shooting from ever happening. And now in case after case after case, mothers and sisters and teachers have to stop the bullets as best they can with their own bodies. Francesca, there's a lot more to get to, obviously, but what are you thinking?
I mean, the same thing we think every time this happens. And why does it always have to fall on Mondays? Damn it. Because I don't have any more, like, I've cried a lot. I'm just now still reeling from, Jordan Neely's murder in New York, and then this, and that comes in the wake of the killing of the family in California by their neighbor with an AR-15. It's too much. It's too much tragedy. It's too numbing, and it's too awful. And so at this point, I think we can safely say that our government has failed to govern. And this is what the right has wanted for so long, for all kinds of reasons, right? They want to hollow out the government so that it is basically just a conduit from taxpayer money into private corporations. However that happens, lowest tax rates, subsidies and whatnot. But it has fundamentally failed in keeping us safe. We don't have health care, right? We don't have robust schools. Our police force kills us. Our police force leaves us unsafe to the point where people are taking like matters into their own hands and then killing one another. And then we're just riddled with guns. So we're completely unsafe. And that is the number one job of a government. If you can agree on anything, is to keep its citizens minimally safe. And I say citizens, not in the Greg Abbott way, all people who live here safe. And they can't do that. So I'm just wondering, like, what do libertarians think right now? Is it just like, well, you get a gun now? Is that your answer truly? Do you truly believe that? Or do you think that maybe the government has some kind of role in stopping this gun violence?
Yeah, I mean, look, I guess I would say their government has succeeded. They being the ones who got the politicians they wanted. Our government, to the extent that it exists at all, has failed us. But we don't really have a government that represents us, obviously.
Sure.
I was noticing, if you go back to 2018, according to the Gun Violence Archive. Oh, by the way, I think it's important to fact check the media, including ourselves. We blew past 200 mass shootings over the weekend. We're like 203 or something. So sorry. In 2018, it took until July 31st to reach 200 mass shootings. Almost without fail, it's not taking as long. It was June 30th in 2019, June 16th in 2020, May 12th in 2021. Oh, improvement, May 15th in 2022. May 6th in 2023. Where do we think this is going in 10 years? Are we gonna break into February at some point? Do we get to January in our living experience? We're definitely moving in that direction because no one in power cares. No one. By the way, I'm including both the ones who desperately don't want anything to be done and those who theoretically would be okay with something being done but aren't doing what is necessary to make it actually happen. We're gonna get to Joe Biden's statement in a little bit. And you'll notice what I just said right there is that we're gonna get to his statement because he made a statement. That's what he did. Okay, well, look, we have a little bit more news. What do you know? He had an AR-15 style rifle and a handgun. Oh, by the way, but this is almost a commonality amongst all these. If you want to kill as many people as possible, you will go and buy the best weapon to do that. And so the question is, how good do we want that best weapon to be at slaughtering people? I don't want it to be as good as it is right now, but there are a lot of politicians that are dead set on making sure that it's at least as deadly as it is right now. And it could get way worse, by the way. It's a crazy lib idea that you shouldn't be able to have fully automatic machine guns in America, but there are plenty of politicians that would be fine with switching back to allowing that to be legal. He had a tactical vest packed with ammunition magazines. A reminder, by the way, that they want to kill as many people as possible. One magazine is not enough, so they're going to be reloading. So a further question for you, how often would you like them to have to reload? Bear that in mind when we have discussions about capacity for magazines. The victims were aged 5 to 61. I saw a reference to something like this in the chat. It's a very common refrain on the right trying to ward off the perception that they're extreme when it comes to opposing abortion, that they will then try to flip it on the Democrats and say they're extreme because they want abortions after birth, which of course isn't true. But a case could be made that Republicans are okay with abortions after birth, even up into the decades after, so long as the abortion is done with an AR-15. They seem perfectly fine with that.
Or abortions anyway. What about pregnant people who are murdered in mass shootings?
Yeah.
Are they against that? No, that's cool because their greater love than of children, which they feign, is of guns. I just briefly want to say, John, before we move on to the Biden statement, that this man was in the military and he was, I believe, removed for mental health concerns. I think that it is, and I don't want to say poetic, but it is actually a little bit ironic and cruel that the thing that is killing Americans at this rate is the same thing that has been devised to murder civilians in countries far away like Iraq and Afghanistan and other, covert operations in other places that we've been in the last 20, 30 years. And it is no mistake that under Bush, the assault weapons ban lapsed. And under Bush, we started 2+ wars. So think about these weapons of war, once used against civilians abroad, are now coming home to roost and in the hands of people who were either before or during or after affected by their time in the service. I mean, if you're young right now, if you don't remember 9/11, if you don't remember, like why we have different codes for different terror alerts, if you don't remember why we have to take off our shoes, if you don't remember all of these ridiculous things, guys, this is what happens when you militarize a society, when you decide to be the cops of the world, when weapons manufacturers can make whatever they believed can do more damage to human flesh in the shortest amount of time. Then you flood them into our streets in the United States. And yeah, you're seeing the kind of carnage that you saw in Iraq in 2003. So it is no accident. We have a lot of work to do.
They're very cool though. The guns, they're very cool. They're very awesome. Some people, it's like that's their favorite thing, like an AR-15, like this shooter and many other terrorists. It's their favorite gun. It's also a lot of Republican politicians' favorite guns. That's why they love it so much that they have to put like a pin, because it's their favorite hobby. Not everyone does that, especially for things that don't kill people. I have a favorite board game. I don't have a pin made to show everyone that it's my favorite thing. And if people were going around the country taking copies of Eldritch Horror and murdering tons of people, I would probably be even less likely to have a pin made and wear it proudly if it turned out that my favorite hobby was also what terrorists use to kill people, but they go in a different direction. We don't know many of the details yet, but we do know that there is reason to believe that this shooter, despite being identified as Mauricio Garcia, has an interest in Nazi stuff. Had a patch on his chest that said RWDS, an acronym for Right Wing Death Squad, which he became a part of on his own. Not a squad, really, an individual, but he was doing it. Appears to have right-wing beliefs, and he was part of a death squad. It's a phrase popular among extremists, including white supremacy groups. We're waiting to find out more information about how deep his interest in this went and whether that was directly tied to his motivation in doing this. But it is apparently developing fast. Take a look at this.
We're also learning a bit more about his background, with several senior law enforcement officials confirming that he did interact with neo-Nazi and white supremacist content online, that he may have posted some of that content and that he also read through some of that content. So learning a little bit more there.
So I don't know what that means in practice. I don't know if that means that he read a couple of manifestos. I don't know if that means that he was an active participant in Stormfront for 10 years. I don't know exactly what it means. What I do know is it means absolutely nothing to right wingers who will say, well, it doesn't matter if he was following all this stuff online. He doesn't seem white, so I guess it doesn't count, as if that has ever been how white supremacy works. See, the interesting thing though, is that when a right winger says it doesn't make sense to me, I can retort with, it appears to have made sense to him. It appears to have made sense to the guy that just killed a bunch of people. So whether it makes sense to you or not, it seems concerning to me.
It's almost like white supremacy isn't about one particular person or the color of your skin. It truly is a system, and the more we depersonalize and understand it as a system, the more easily we can dismantle it. So this is the thing that right wingers will never say, they don't want their audience to accept or understand, is that it's not about one individual being racist, right? It is about an ideology, and Nazism, white nationalism, white supremacy, all of that stuff is that ideology. So, but no, please, let's over focus on, I don't know, what? I'm like, my mind's going back to a black stormtrooper. I don't know, that seems like such a throwback from all the things that we've gotten upset about.
Well, I mean, the black stormtrooper bothered them way more than all of these shootings have.
Indeed.
Like, imagine if somebody went around gunning down kids and the elderly and just anyone they can get their hands on. And then you're like, you know what I'm gonna do for my Christmas card this year? I'm gonna dress up exactly like that killer. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm a politician from the state where this keeps happening. I'm gonna do it.
John, would you ever dress up as ISIS? Like, would that even be funny?
I don't know.
Like, is it even funny to like, well, we're owning that? No one in their right mind would dress up as ISIS on a Christmas card or whatever.
But
that's effectively what they're doing.
That is the same thing.
That's what they're doing.
Yeah. If some rural politicians from one of these countries that they love to hate were to pose with their family with everyone having an assault rifle, it is the exact same thing. I know that we're supposed to believe that it's different because it's a different culture or something. It's the same thing for the same reason. Anyway, you will be shocked to find out that Greg Abbott, despite being the governor of a state that has experienced 2 devastating mass shootings conducted with the same type of gun inside of a week and a half, he doesn't think that we should do anything about guns. Actually, I saw many articles, and I get that if you're a journalist or whatever, you have to do this. But like, as a regular person, whether it's me or you watching this, when you see an article in the New York Times, it's like, despite mass shooting, Texas shuns gun control. Do you just want to be like, yeah, obviously, why did you waste the digital ink to type that? Like, who thought this is the one that'll do it? Who thought there will be something about one of the victims this time that will break through their icy hearts? There will be something about the place where it happens or the time where it happens, something about the identity of the shooter, some factor. It's like we're all playing mental Rubik's Cube, just trying to figure out the exact orientation that needs to happen for them to be like, oh yeah, no, I guess that is too much death. We should do something. There's no, you spin it for the rest of the time. And they would be happy for you to spin it for the rest of the time because they're making money off those guns. They're motivating their base off of the insanity around all of this. It's not gonna happen. It doesn't matter. As we always say, 100 right wingers could target 100 churches conducting daycare simultaneously across every state in America and gun down thousands of children. They're not gonna come out in support of gun control.
Nope. They will never. That's the sacrifice. They're a death cult, and you have been sacrificed for their pocketbooks. That's it. It is it, John. And the only way, in my mind, you can get to them is when we finally hold gun manufacturers accountable, and when we get money out of politics. These are the 2 avenues that we have left. Obviously, a mass general strike and sit-in around the White House, the occupant of which I believe could be doing a little bit more.
I believe. Well, he did put out a statement, but oh, by the way, Greg Abbott who says like blah blah blah, people want a quick solution or whatever. Well, gee, I wonder why. I wonder why people want a quick solution when their friends and family members are being blown apart in front of their eyes. He says we're going to address mental health problems. I will point out, as I always do, that if you seriously believed that America has a unique issue with mental health, which it doesn't, mental health problems are found in every society, across every country, throughout every period of history, then the last thing you would want is for people to be able to walk into a Dick's Sporting Goods and buy a weapon that belongs like in the streets of a war zone. They obviously don't mean it. They're also not even doing anything about the mental health care, by the way. They just keep saying that and then moving on. He had it pointed out to him, by the way, on Fox News. So impressive from Fox News. Take a look at this graphic. This is polling on all of these things that we're not gonna get, that everyone agrees we should do. More popular than almost any other thing in politics. Things like flagging people who are a danger to themselves, requiring mental health checks, legal age of 21 to buy all guns, which would have stopped some of these mass shootings, enforcing the existing gun laws, background checks, universal. These are incredibly popular, but we don't live in a democracy, so you won't get those, so just forget about it, move on. Biden responded saying that he wants Congress to send him a bill that would require safe storage for guns and enhance universal background checks, saying, I will sign it immediately. We need nothing less to keep our streets safe. And then that's pretty much it. And I think that we're mostly done with the president, the most powerful man in the world, the leader of the Democratic Party, will probably just go away and then he'll come back for the next one and say the right thing and then do nothing. And then that's pretty much it, Francesca, I'm pretty sure.
It's just so weak.
By Wednesday, that's it.
It's so weak. You know the kind of Congress you have. You know the Senate that you have. Take action. Like what will it take? Nothing changes. I'm so tired of how nothing changes. Is anyone else just so bored? I'm so bored. Yeah, I said it. No, I'm not sad anymore. I'm not numb anymore. I'm bored. I'm bored of our politicians. I'm bored of how everything around us changes. We get amazing new shows, Succession. Hey, HBO crushing it. Barry in its final season, right? Like things happen. We got 2 new presidents. We stormed the Capitol. We don't do anything on guns. It's boring. All right, do something. So we need to make them wake the F up. And I don't know. My mind is just like, I can't believe this dude is asking for our vote again. I'm sorry.
He should just like.
I can't believe he's asking for us to do this again.
No, but again, so Francesca, so we all agree he's not gonna do anything between now and the election, right? Okay, so he's got some free time. Okay, here's what you do then, Biden. You do not live at the White House anymore. The White House is for aides or whatever. They live there. You know where you live? You live wherever the last mass shooting was. That's where you live.
Totally.
You just go there, and that is what you do for the next year and a half. Does it address all the problems we face? No, there's plenty of problems, there's bigger problems. But you're not gonna do anything about those either, so why even worry about it? You now live in and broadcast from on a daily basis wherever the last mass shooting was, and you do not give these people a moment of, oh, we forgot about it.
Brilliant.
You do not give them a minute.
It's a great idea. It's the same as like maybe go to West Virginia, the way Bernie Sanders did to pressure Joe Manchin. Remember how mad it made Manchin? So make these politicians mad at you. Do it.
Yeah, there's a lot of people, a lot of conservatives because that's the thing. None of these mass shooters check party ID, okay? And this is Texas, there's a lot of conservatives being gunned down. Would love to see someone act like it's a big issue.
Look, I know we've given a lot of credence to our Second Amendment laws, and I'm a Second Amendment pro-gun right guy. But I will tell you, we cannot allow criminals to be running around here with guns, with body armor, and not who they are, know who they are. I think it's time that we start looking at mental health laws, start looking at gun protection laws. We got to do what we got to do to make sure that the right people have the guns.
I think we ought to look at the issue of fatherlessness. We also ought to look at weed. We know that cannabis increases psychoses by 5 times. So I think everything should be on the table, including what you say, maybe improving background checks. But thank God there was a guy with a gun there to take this guy down.
Yeah. So the fascinating thing about what you just saw is not just that interaction happened on Fox, but that individual, Trey Penny, is a Republican congressional candidate who, look, he mentioned all of the other things that Republicans love to say are responsible for mass gun violence other than the guns, but he also said gun control. She then modified that to background checks. It's a much smaller version of what he had said. And then she added in fatherlessness and of course weed, which as we all know creates psychosis. Perhaps psychosis strong enough to produce people like Rachel Campos Duffy, who believe that that is a suitable solution to the problem that we face. And again, I will say what I always say, if you believe that America is uniquely broken when it comes to a lack of fathers, if you believe that everyone around us is tripping balls on psychotic weed, then the last thing you would want is for them to be able to walk into a store, hand over $750, get a weapon of war, and then shoot up a bakery or whatever. You obviously do not believe the things you're saying, because if you did, you would be screaming for gun control more than anyone else. But anyway, that's a Republican who's willing to talk about a candidate, to be fair.
I mean, if you're listening to this, that Republican is black. So
sure, yes, also true. Yeah.
It should not be lost on anyone how laced with racism her comments were. You see, he is wearing a cowboy hat. He is talking about, again, doing the talking points, but also then like mention gun control. And then she immediately goes to fatherlessness and weed. Anyone else?
That's true.
Anyone else smelling how racist that is? Like, what? What? Nobody's talking about fatherlessness. So, oh God, that's so gross. And I a little bit see his face going like, what? Like he like has a double take a little bit there. Like, lady, no one's talking about those things.
Like imagine.
It's disgusting.
Communities being broken and you're like, fatherlessness, that's what we need. That'll solve it in 60 years or something, slow cultural change, embracing more. By the way, like when we talk about wanting fathers to be more involved in their kids' lives, more like are they supportive of that? They want fathers to be limited to just like dreaming of smoking a cigar and driving a Bugatti. That's what they think that fathers should be doing. Anyway, look, as much as that video I think sums up what you're gonna get from Fox for the most part, I think there's a video that sums up Fox News in the wake of gun violence better than anything else. Take a look at this.
And just like General Mathis once said, be polite, be professional, but have a plan to kill everyone you meet because you never know.
Christ.
That's the advice coming to you from Fox News, the Christian news source. Everywhere you go for the rest of your life, you should be prepared to murder everyone around you because they're probably preparing to murder you. And all of this is not a description of some sort of hellscape that, oh dear God, how have we ended up in this place and how can we get out of it? They're fine with that. They think you should be more prepared to kill people, but we shouldn't do anything to stop that situation from happening. We shouldn't change anything. We should all be ready. So what's the best weapon? I mean, I guess it's the mug. I guess that if one of the producers is out there, bust it through the door, because they probably will, I should break the mug over their head and then try to cut their throat with it. That's what I'm getting from the Christian news source. If I can find something better, maybe a light or like a pole or something, I could probably use a pole actually to beat people to death. That's what we should be thinking about. Can you think of a better way to demonstrate that a society has utterly failed?
Yes.
Than that everyone should constantly be ready to murder everyone around them.
Not at all. Or a society that's failed by the fact that in just the last couple of weeks, people who've turned into the wrong driveway, knocked on the wrong door, have been shot and killed. Because exactly that, we've been telling people to stay afraid, be armed at all times. Have a loaded weapon and shoot first and ask questions later. And if push comes to shove and you get held accountable, you just plead that you were scared. That is it. So it's like, yeah, buddy, how's that working out for us? It seems like it's leading to more bloodshed. Or is your argument that the person who was shot at should have also returned fire, and then maybe both of them could have died? America, bald eagle sheltering small bald eagle from AR-15. I think it should still be a bald eagle, John.
Yeah, you'd prefer that. Okay, so I think what we're gonna do is for time, we're gonna just get ready for the intro. You let me know when we're gonna do that. There's a guy who's like still defending, like, how dare you say prayers aren't working? I believe in an almighty God. They're not working. There was just a mass. Did you not see the news that happened in your state? There was a mass shooting. It wasn't stopped, actually. It happened. That demonstrates that it didn't solve it. We're a very religious nation, and we have more gun violence. Oh, by the way, the most religious states have more gun violence. So your theory sucks. Anyway, that's all I have to say about that. So with that, we return from every weekend having to deal with some of the worst monsters in America, and it's that time again. The Monday Minute segment was designed to be able to apply to anyone who over the weekend says something reprehensible. But in practice, we might as well just give it to this one politician because she really does sort of excel in this particular area. Following devastating mass shooting outside of Dallas, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene says she was responding to like the guy had been shot or whatever. Okay, good. Thank God for the brave officer that courageously ran into the line of fire to save others. Okay, that's fine. It was brave. It was brave. There were other armed people, by the way, at least one, a security guard that was killed. So you're kind of glossing over that. Oh, also, by the way, maybe we make it so that they don't have to bravely run into the line of fire on a daily basis all over the country. But anyway, that's not the worst part of the comment. We pray for the victims and their families and an end to the mental illness, drugs, and evil forces that cause people to commit such horrors. As a general rule, you can always count on Marjorie Greene to deliver the dumbest version of every dumb argument being parlayed in American politics on a daily basis. So mental illness, drugs, blah, 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 blah. She doesn't go into detail there. Again, like all these Republicans, she believes that we're riddled with mental illness, we're riddled with drugs, and all of those people should then be able to buy guns. But she then just falls back to evil forces. It's just evil forces. It's not understandable. It's not stoppable because evil is ever present. It can't be stopped. I mean, it's always going to be there. So what she said in the guise of being brave is utter political cowardice. We shouldn't do anything. We should just bow down to the evil or whatever. Look, I don't know if I believe in the concept of evil. I think you can identify acts as seeming evil. But if there was an evil, wouldn't it maintain the status quo of guns? Like if you are a future terrorist, someday you're gonna try to shoot as many people as possible. Are you not happy as hell that people like Marjorie Greene are working to protect your rights? Like maybe there are people, well, there are people who are planning their shootings right now. They're planning to buy their AR-15. And they see a shooting and they think stupidly, naively, oh my God, wait, what if this stops me from getting the gun I need to shoot a lot of people? And then you see people like Marjorie Greene and you think, oh good, okay, it's gonna be okay. I'll be able to murder all of those people. If there was evil, how is this not what it is, Francesca?
Yeah, it is evil to do nothing about guns, given how many people have died at the hands of mass shooters. And honestly, Republicans need to get the phrase mental illness out of their mouth. Number one, they do nothing about it. They don't care. They stigmatize the mentally ill. And you have no idea what it's like. So stop defaming this community, which is broad, and not everyone is a mass shooter, okay? And they're struggling to get the help and the assistance that they need. So shut up about all of that. And the evil stuff is absolutely a dog whistle to the fact that these folks would rather be cult leaders than in government. So go be cult leaders and leave your seat to somebody else. You stop pretending that you want to govern when you openly say there's nothing you can do. Go run your psycho cult and go drink jungle juice underneath a bridge in Dallas with the other Q folks.
100%. That's all it is. It's trying to appeal to those same people. The invocation of evil. It's to try to activate those people. It's just. And their conservatives are like, she has her back. She doesn't have your back. She's fine with you being shot in the back. Like, you think she's gonna protect you? She's way more interested in protecting the people that are gonna make a nice profit off of the sale of an AR-15 to the next person who shoots up a mall or a church or a sporting event or a school. She's interested in protecting something and it's their profits. Anyway, with that said, we're gonna move on briefly to our B block. Again, sorry, sometimes the show is what it is. And this is what America is. Texas lawmakers have apparently so thoroughly given up on doing anything to stop gun violence that they've decided they're just gonna try to manage it a little bit. I mean, I guess if this is all we can have, this is what we're gonna do. So 2 state Democrats have introduced legislation that would teach 3rd graders how to use basically battlefield medicine using tourniquets, okay? They'll be trained to stem the bleeding of their fellow students and teachers and janitors and lunch ladies who are needlessly shot up, predictably, and they will be. Representatives Barbara Gervin-Hawkins and Ryan Guillen introduced House Bill 1147 in December, which would amend Gervin-Hawkins' authored Stop the Bleed legislation signed into law in 2019 to now require all Texas school districts to have bleeding control stations on hand, including annual training for all students in grade 7 and higher. So basically, they're gonna have tourniquets approved for use in battlefield trauma care by the Armed Forces of the United States, chest seals, compression bandages, bleeding control bandages, space emergency blankets, latex-free gloves, markers, and scissors. And thank God, because they're gonna need them, because while they have a lot of stuff to control bleeding, they don't have anything to control guns. And so there are a lot of 7th and 8th graders out there that hopefully will become little mini Doogie Housers or Dr. House or something like that, because they're pretty much all that's gonna even theoretically save the lives of the kids that they're in class with. By the way, can I just point out, this story we produced for the Power Panel last Friday. And then there was 2 mass shootings in Texas over the weekend after this. Maybe if there were some 7th graders in that mall, some lives could have been saved. I mean, that's the only thing. I can't conceive of anything else that could have saved those lives, but maybe some 7th and 8th graders. And by the way, I'm not even like, I hate everything about this. I'm not even mad at the Democrats. First of all, they probably won't even be able to get this passed because the Democrats have basically no power in Texas. If this is all you can do, then I guess this is what you do. Francesca, what do you think?
I think that we, for the amount of squawking that the right has done about what masks did to children in school, and they couldn't breathe, and they had to Zoom comfortably in their PJs into their 6th grade classes while they were snacking on kudos bars. I know that's what I ate in 6th grade. You know what I'm saying? Like for the amount that the right talks about what the pandemic did to children, what the F do you think that doing lone shooter drills, having to learn tourniquet care for people who have been riddled with bullets, what do you think that does to the mental health of an elementary school child? Living in constant fear that when there's a knock at the door, that maybe that person is a shooter, living in fear by the evidence, by the fact that school doors, classroom doors are supposed to be locked. Like, come on, the amount of trauma we are inflicting on students who have been either survived mass shootings themselves, seen their friends and family die, or are just constantly living in fear that maybe their school is next. Get out of here.
Yeah, again, it's you know what it is? It's like if you imagine a potential shooter who's gonna go to a school, who's gonna gun down kids. Imagine all of the points where you could stop that. Like I would ideally like to stop it before it happens by screening people, by not allowing them to get the guns, all of that stuff. But I feel like the Republican solution has been getting closer and closer to the death of the kid always. Like at some point it was like lock the door, have a guard, maybe the side doors or whatever. Eventually it's lock the interior doors. Then it's have backpacks that have shields. Now the bullet's just inches away from their body. They've given up on that. Now the bullet's in the body. Let's try to keep as much of the blood in the body as possible. Like the point at which they will protect life has moved so close.
No, it's absolutely, and they know it's absurd. That's the thing, you guys. They know they're being absurd. They are trolling us. They are mocking us at this point, which is why the only thing left to do is to actually take action, to not let this go ever, right? That's what you have to do. I mean, we have to take our lead from the students of Marjory Stoneman Douglas, right? Like they showed us the way. Let's continue. We're reaching a year, John, from Uvalde, right? And even then, talking about keeping the this week. Keeping the blood inside children, how did that go down with the cops who were waiting outside like cowards for, what was it, an hour? Almost 2?
That you come too hot through the whole thing, and there's
it deserves to be hot. I mean, I'm sorry.
You can go there in moments without having it become.
Kavanaugh showed that when you say
no. Look, I think there.
I mean, the thing is we did such a horrible job of pushing back on all these stupid stories from the beginning that he's gonna rattle off a list.
Yes, he is.
So what you just saw is excerpts from a 2018 gubernatorial debate prep session that Ron DeSantis apparently was having with Matt Gaetz. Sorry, Matt Gaetz wearing flip-flops. I feel like that needs to be pointed out.
And a Nirvana shirt.
And a Nirvana shirt, which does not seem like it should be legal. Also, by the way, considering the age of the people he's trying to attract, choose a more recent band, man. But anyway, what is interesting about that is the content. We're gonna get to that, like him telling him he's coming in too hot or whatever. I also was interested to see that DeSantis was doing like the Trump hand stuff even back in 2018. But also, I love the cinematography. It's shot like one of those TikTok videos where a person is talking to themselves back and forth, like a little bit too close, a little bit too low. Yeah. It doesn't look quite right, but that was the potential future president of these United States and whatever the hell Matt Gaetz is these days. By the way, we're gonna go on to just a little bit more of the video where it gets into what if he's questioned about whether he disagrees with Trump. Obviously, Trump was president at this point. Here's what he had to say.
Is there any issue upon which you disagree with President Trump?
Obviously there is, because I voted contrary to him in the Congress. I have to frame it in a way that's not going to piss off all his voters. So what I do is I do what I think is right. I support his agenda in terms of what he's been able to do. If I have a disagreement, I talk to him in private.
Okay, so what this is also revealed, and look, I don't think these videos necessarily reveal much. I don't think it's a massive scoop or anything. But when he was asked that question, his reaction, the tongue in the mouth and the leaning, shows that Ron DeSantis, as we see him on a daily basis, as utterly devoid of charisma and likability as he is him working as hard as he can to hide the fact that he's actually worse in private. He's less likable, less sympathetic a figure when he doesn't realize he's being seen. Francesca, what do you think?
This just gives me the vibes of like when I ask my husband to help me with like an audition tape or something, and I get the line wrong, and I'm like, and I know I have to say this line, and like we're going back and forth, and it's just so good. He's like, obviously they're trying to role play, and just do some run throughs. It's good, but he's like leaning. He's like, I gotta word this, and can't piss off his base. This was in 2018. Like this was pre-pandemic Trump.
Yeah.
Like. This is pre-Capitol riot Trump. This is like Trump soaring high, in his disgustingness. So it's just, I'm trying to take myself back to 2018 and what was going on, right? Obviously, maybe it was the separating children from their parents debacle. That one was fun, but arguably things were pretty chill compared to how they went. Yeah. And even then he was trying to distinguish himself. Think about now.
They all have to be thinking about when they're gonna need to make that split, especially if they aim to surpass him. If you're a Sith apprentice, your career possibilities going forward are sort of specific, and it's gonna cause some drama. Okay, really fast, we're gonna go to one more clip. Here's him addressing one of the issues that he has, which I alluded to.
Florida lawmakers Matt Gaetz and Byron Donalds helping DeSantis then, but have since endorsed Trump's third White House bid. In the video, aides coaching DeSantis on a range of topics, including how to be likable.
I think when you walk up there, if you have a pad, you have to write in all caps at the top of the pad, likable. And just look, I do the same thing because I have the same personality. We're both aggressive.
I love that little that was so nice. I don't know who that was saying that. I guess it was Byron Donalds. He's like, so I just desperately need you to remind yourself with a Sharpie if necessary, be likable. Because you're aggressive. That's what it is. You're not unlikable, you're just aggressive. So try to be more likable. That was a concern 5 years ago for people on his side. It is going to be a major issue going forward. Francesca.
I love it. Matt Gaetz, the arguably also least likable person in Congress. I don't know, maybe Gosar has him beat just in the way that he just kind of like, like sort of moves his little Nazi neck, But Matt Gaetz is so unlikable. Ron DeSantis also, I guess, minimally more likable, but again, has this sort of like nasal snot nose, he's very defensive, and like I said, like there's nothing likable about him.
We are now into Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And that's going to take a lot of different shapes depending on where in the country you live in. But basically the idea is supposed to be to show appreciation for and expand people's knowledge of the contributions of these communities to America. Well, there's a lot of positive parts of that. I think also one part of it is to identify some issues right now that perhaps some members of those communities feel for how they're treated, how they're seen in America. So I saw this poll, and it's fairly devastating. So there's a lot here. Nearly 3 out of 4 Chinese Americans say they have experienced racial discrimination in the past 12 months. Okay, I think, considering some of this, that's 3 out of 4 in the last year. Asian Americans, especially young Asian American women, are the least likely out of any group polled to feel they completely belong and are accepted in the US. So half of Asian Americans report feeling unsafe in the US due to their race and ethnicity. Only 22% of Asian Americans say they feel they belong and are accepted in the US. That's compared to 57% of white respondents. The other 43% are Fox viewers. 25% of Latinos, 24% of Black respondents in the survey. So look, there's a lot of people in America who don't feel like America accepts them, but it's actually even worse for this group. Francesca, what do you think?
No, I mean, it's terrible. I mean, and look, there for so many different reasons, we need to be reminded of how much inclusion and representation really matters. And the ways that I think Asian Americans in a really cruel way are seen simultaneously as model minorities, but also outsiders, right? And I think we need to, it's something we struggle with consistently, and it's something that we need to obviously work on. And of course, none of this, this is all in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic, calling something, the Kung flu, the China virus, and all of that. This is part of the reason why. But it also is, just not seeing Asian Americans in prominent places, in television, movies. It matters. It does really matter. So I don't know, John. I don't know what the answer is. I mean, I'm half Chinese, so half of me feels this, but also I'm not openly people don't walk up to me and automatically assume that I am Chinese. So, we
saw all those attacks. I mean, look, we know how many on the right tried to use the situation with COVID, let alone the generalized fear mongering over China that we always have. The attempt to use COVID disgustingly, not caring about all of the violence we were seeing, the literal mass murder that we were seeing. They just kept doing it and kept doing it. And then you look at other groups too, this is the same country where we know, God help us if a movie comes out starring an Asian person. We know what the cultural backlash to that will be.
Yeah, no,
a Black person starring in a movie, they will freak the hell out. God knows why people feel like they're not accepted in America.
It's also not knowing our history. Lastly, I just want to say shout out to the PBS documentary Asian Americans. It's so good. Asian Americans have been in this country, have built this country, have worked for this country for so many generations, and we don't learn about that in school, right? And of course, now we're criminalizing that in school to learn about Asian Americans' contributions and all the different waves of immigration and why. And so that is so essential. The first woman to run as a Democrat, I believe, Asian American from Hawaii, and I don't even remember her name, right? But this is so crucial, and we've erased our own history, just like we've erased so much of our history in this country. So, yeah.
Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for the first hour of the show, but there is a lot more to come in the aftermath. So if you're watching linear platforms, listening on the podcast, know that there is extra content we do on a daily basis that you can see over on YouTube. Thank you, everyone. Francesca and I'll be back in just a few. Thanks for listening to the full episode of The Damage Report. Support our work, listen ad-free, access members-only bonus content, and more by subscribing to Apple Podcasts at apple.co/TYT. I'm your host, John Iadarola. I'll see you soon.